Welcome everyone. I'm talking about Final Fantasy XIV Online, and it's becoming slowly one of my favorite games actually. I've always been an MMORPG fan. I'm looking at games like Guild Wars, World of Warcraft, actually especially World of Warcraft. I've been playing it almost ever since its release, 2005, I believe, or
I think that's a good idea.
2006. I started playing it, and
I think that sounds like
I've
good.
always been such a
All
huge
right. So
fan of
since
it.
this might take a little bit
I've
of
always been
time,
looking for a
and
game to kind
I
of
don't want to bore you
replace
guys with the whole travel,
World of Warcraft
I'm gonna
because
probably fast
it's
forward
just
this a little bit.
not the game that it
And
used to be. It used to be an amazing game back in the days. It's not the same game that I fell in love with. I mean, some of the things that I had fallen in love with their gameplay that they really quickly changed a long time ago that I never really liked. Like you're looking at vanilla, for example, and all the gears, all the weapons, all the reputation that you gained, every single expansion you kind of reset. For me, that was always one of the biggest things that I always hated. Not everybody's gonna agree with me there. I never really liked it. You work your butt off to actually accomplish something, to get something for your character. You're very proud of it, some like an epic, a legendary, and you kind of start from scratch. Never been a big fan of that. But I mean, that's just me. Another thing that I used to love in vanilla that you're not going to see anymore is every class had something over another class. Like I remember my first class was a warlock, amazing in PvP. I just could not beat a rogue. I mean, yeah, you could still do damage. There was always a chance that you can still defeat them, but it was not to my favor. I basically had to get the jump on him, or I had to have a specific pet out to be able to detect them, or just randomly cast AoE so they can uncloak and really fear them to death. But it was always like a game that there was always one class that had something over another class. You can never have an overpowered class. Yeah, it was not balanced. There was some issues, but there was a lot more challenge, which was so exciting. As opposed to now, every class has a stun practically or disorient. Every class has a type of heal. Like every class has something. It's not the same. Like as far as I'm concerned, it lost something. Plus, not to mention that because of um, all these rebalancing, they nerfed the talents so much. They try to bring it back with classic World of Warcraft, but it's not the same. Especially now with the Burning Crusades that came out, you're basically going back to the same vicious circle, following the same trend that you did that led up to where we're at now, and the downfall of World of Warcraft. But I guess it was more of a cash grab. Well, guess what? Final Fantasy, at least at the moment, is not like that. Especially not for me. So I've been playing it for a while now, and I wanted to try it out. So I went in and did their free trial at the beginning, and I have to say, I was very pleasantly surprised. There's a lot of aspects in Final Fantasy 14 Online that I fell in love with during World of Warcraft, and I guess pretty much a whole MMORPG games. Well, they brought it back. So I'm gonna go over more of the pros and cons, at least as far as I'm concerned, my personal opinion of it. And whether you guys agree with it or not, that's fine. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below if you agree or not. This is my point of view. The video is not sponsored by anything. It's just one gamer to another and just giving my thoughts. So get ready, get yourself comfortable, and let me know in the comments what you guys think. And here they are. So let's begin the pros by something that I believe everybody will know when it comes to Final Fantasy, which is the storyline. I mean, the lore of Final Fantasy is incredible, very nicely told. I mean, you may like or dislike the characters and what they're trying to build up to, the lore. It's possible, but the way they say it, the way they do it, and just playing the game, it's really focused on telling you what's happening rather than other MMOs. Example, like I mentioned before, in World of Warcraft, you really don't have to listen to any of the storyline. It's just blah blah. Like you're skipping pretty much everything. I haven't really met too many people that will sit down and read what you have to do, or just what's the consequence, what it represents. Essentially, they're telling you, go kill those mobs. You'll go out and do it. You come back, you gain some XP, an item, some gold. Good for you. Let me just level, get to my next stage. As opposed to Final Fantasy, you spend a lot of time just listening to the storyline. And you know what? You're encouraged to do so because there's XP that's involved. I mean, if I remember correctly, I leveled at least 3 levels just by listening to the storyline, which is absolutely nonsense, but it was still very interesting. The next thing, and I think pretty obvious when you guys look at the video, the graphics. Oh my god, does it look beautiful. Absolutely stunning. You're walking in, very realistic. The graphics are very smooth. It's not a cartoonish design like Guild Wars or World of Warcraft, or I don't know what else comes to mind. Star Trek or Star Wars MMOs, like they look really bad. I mean, granted, they're older games, so I get it. And I'm sure you guys can think of other games that might rival Final Fantasy. But since we are talking about this, the graphics are stunning. The next thing, and this is one thing that I missed, is really going in and exploring new areas and new worlds and new cities. Now, I know what some of you are going to tell me. Well, there's new expansions in World of Warcraft and we go and visit different places. And granted, you're absolutely right. But doesn't it feel like it's almost the same thing, just copy pasted and they just tweaked a few things here and there? It's very standard type of cities. Like, it's type of cities that you expect to see from World of Warcraft. It's nothing really new, nothing. You're not gonna go in and it's gonna take your breath away. At least not for me. Maybe you guys still feel like that. For me, it doesn't do it for me. Like, I remember the first time I came into Undercity in World of Warcraft, being undead, and just took my breath away. I'm like, wow. Yep, this is the result of Warcraft 3. Spectacular. You don't really get that anymore with the new expansions. They really, at least for me, it feels like a cash grab. Because back in vanilla, they would constantly update their game and put new things inside. And hey, this is why we were paying a monthly fee. But now, since they realize that with the Burning Crusades, you can actually go in and charge people money and they're still willing to buy it. Well, why not do both and get some extra money with new patches? I never like that. As opposed to Final Fantasy, you're going in, yes, you can have a monthly fee, but you're still getting new materials that's going in. You're getting in, it's a brand new world, different environment. The cities are not all the same, they're unique. This is how I feel. You guys can definitely go in the comments and tell me, hey, you're wrong, I don't feel like that. that's fine. For me, the way I look at it, World of Warcraft became so repetitive as opposed to Final Fantasy. You're going in and something completely different. I love that. I mean, it actually want like I want to go in and play this game. It actually also brings me to my next point, which is there's no microtransactions like World of Warcraft. Basically, you buy the game, you pay what you ever have to, and that's it. There's no other incentive to buy anything else. I mean, granted, I'm not max level, so I really hope I'm wrong here. But basically, from what I've seen, there's no microtransactions. There's nothing else. If I am mistaken, please let me know, because obviously this is going to be a huge turnoff for me going forward. But yeah, big plus there when it comes to Final Fantasy. Another thing that I really like, so I mentioned about storyline. Well, you know exactly what you're doing when you're going to your quest. Everything is very well explained. There's, I mean, hints, there's clues, there's instructions. You open your map, it's even right there, you know exactly where to go. And granted, I would say the majority, if not all of the MMOs nowadays, they all have that. But looking back at vanilla, my goodness, was it complicated to try to find exactly where you should be questing. They would just mention somewhere in the north, and you would have to go pretty much all over the map in the north to try to find exactly what this person's telling you to find, because for you it might be north, for them it might be northeast. Still considered north, but yeah, not exactly where you thought it was going to be. So it takes you a long time to try to find exactly where you should be questing. And if it's on 100% drop, then you start doubting yourself, and then you start moving around and you start killing other mobs, and it was a pain. Nowadays they did fix that, which is fine, but this game does a very good job right away telling you exactly what you should do. Another thing, engaging solo content. Right? I mean, for me that's spectacular because, and fine, I mean, end game, you're gonna do raids and stuff. That's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But at least you can actually go in and level all by yourself without needing groups or anything. Exactly how World of Warcraft used to be, as opposed to now, it's really, let's just rush to the end, get the end game, can't speak, end game content, try to get as many epics, any legendaries if we can, fantastic, maximize that, we all look cool, we accomplish the game, next patch. Yeah, this game is not like that. I mean, it really engages you to go around. You can solo by yourself, you can go in a group if you choose to, you can actually have multiple quests in the same or relatively same spot. And one of the best things that I found very unique and interesting is if you do have a quest, for example, a world quest that you're too high level, the game will actually temporarily bring your level down to actually meet the requirements so you can do the quest, and brings you back up so you can be able to level. So you still take advantage of that world quest. Very unique, very interesting. But that engaging solo content for me is what a difference maker. I think it's one of the biggest things that I loved about MMOs when I first started. I love that. I mean, why doesn't World of Warcraft do that anymore? I mean, yes, you can actually do solo content. It's not the same though, because you're just rushing to get to end game rather than wanting to level up your character. And you can tell me, hey, there's Classic. Yeah, but if we haven't noticed, Classic is going to Classic TBC now. and they're kind of following the same trend. And what next is going to be Wrath of the Lich King? They're essentially going exactly, the same way that they did and making the same mistakes that they did. Nothing really has changed. Eventually, as they progress, and if they continue doing these expansions, they're going to be having and making the same mistakes as before. Not very motivating for me, anyways. Some people might like it, nothing wrong with that. For me, not that much. I think one of the best parts about playing Final Fantasy is those extra cool abilities. Like, you have sprints, you have repair your gear, you have fast healing. You don't need to grind if you don't want to. And like I said before, you can actually level your character just by listening to lore, because it gives you crazy amount of XP. So those extra cool abilities that you don't actually need to farm endlessly and leveling up, I don't know, like professions just because to have extra things to do. I mean, why not just focusing on the gameplay? Well, this is exactly what they did. And those cool little extras that you would normally grind for, you have them, which is phenomenal. I mean, great job there for thinking of the players. Now, that being said, let's jump into the cons. So, I mentioned the lore. Absolutely, I agree here. Nothing wrong with the lore. I absolutely love it. I guess the only thing I can add to that is give me the option to have the short version. I mean, some of these just keep on going, and eventually you might just want to jump in for a couple of minutes, do some quick play, and call it a day. You don't have that. You have to listen to everything they have to tell you, which is fantastic. But if I want to spend 10-15 minutes on my break, play a little bit of Final Fantasy, it makes it difficult because, well, half of my time is going to be listening to the lore and the storyline and telling me where I should go, and just tell me already, let me go kill those mobs, right? I mean, at a certain point, let me skip ahead. That's all I'm saying. Another thing, open world. Yes, you can consider it an open world, absolutely. But that being said, there's still a lot of loading screens. So if you guys are used to World of Warcraft and going from one zone to the next, yeah, you're not in the right game. So you have a lot of zones even within the same city, which is kind of disappointing. I mean, just the main city as you're beginning your character, you have the old city and the new city, which you're kind of going down a cave and just going to the second level, which is a great idea. There's nothing wrong with it, but I mean, for crying out loud, do I really need to spend a couple of 10-15 seconds loading old city? I mean, come on. At least put it in the same level. Make it unique, at least in that sense. Like, I don't want to be loading all the time. And some of the quests are telling you go to this person on the second level, or go downstairs to the first level and do this and do that, and then go back to the first one. So you're going back and forth loading all the time. It's just nonsense. PvP, I mean, again, I'm not max level, not yet. I will be hopefully soon, but at least one thing I do miss, to tell you the truth, is open world PvP. So when World of Warcraft came out, it was a mess. The things were not balanced, and everybody had unique effects. The cities were all over the place, but the open world PvP was so unique, which you don't have that here. So it's a little bit disappointing, and I know not everybody likes it, which is fine. It's not a very big deal, but I still miss it. Now, I guess the two most important things for me here is the progression. So by that, I mean a little bit more, I guess, end game. So there's no talent specifically like you would have in World of Warcraft or even Classic that you can actually, I guess, modify your spells or gain new spells or tweak your character a bit by giving them additional armor or resistance or whatnot. You don't really have that here, which is one thing that I really loved about World of Warcraft. Not the new talents, more like the old ones. Having really unique spells to your character, I think that was one of the best things, right? Like, it was hard to have one specific player that would have the same exact talents as the other one. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of similarities, but more often than none, you would always have one or two spells that were a little bit different that would kind of stand out in some cases. Not all the time, but as time went on, yes, because they tried to balance it out and everybody started becoming more, generic and the same, as opposed to when it first came out, the talents were so unique, so unbalanced, that depending on what you take, it made a huge difference. And the last thing is the global cooldown. Oh my goodness. Where do I begin? So, it doesn't sound like a lot, but the global cooldown is 2 seconds. It makes such a difference in your rotations. And some spells have a cooldown that are related to each other. Like, you can't use, let's say, 2 specific melee attacks because the global cooldown will actually activate on both of them. So instead of having 2 spells, you really kind of have one, and you have to take from one of them depending on which one you think will do more damage. Which is fine, but why do they have to share the cooldown? Already 2-second cooldown is a lot to wait for a melee attack. I mean, when World of Warcraft first came out, you had 0 cooldowns. Actually, that's not true. If I remember correctly, it was 0.5. I could be wrong with that. It's been a while. But, I mean, you really didn't feel it. Then they put it to 1 second, which was a lot, when you were used to practically nothing, especially when it came to dogs. There was no global cooldown when it came to dogs. You could just dodge the hell out of everybody. But 2-second cooldown makes a very, very, very big difference in your gameplay. So it doesn't ruin the game by no means, but it's a difference maker. It's something that I wish it didn't have, or at the bare minimum, just don't share it with other spells. That to me does not make any sense. So these are my thoughts about the pros and cons, and I mentioned it a few times right now. I'm not at max level yet. However, I am very excited about this game, and I have to say that as I progress, I will be making additional videos with this, but I'm really looking forward to see how the gears, the abilities, and any professions, how they look like. Like, especially the gear, I haven't really had the opportunity to see much of it, right? I mean, I'm really used to more like World of Warcraft type gear that you could have sets. They have unique items, unique talents, unique, by constantly abilities, I should have said. So I'm not sure if it's like that in Final Fantasy. I can always look it up, but I really didn't want to spoil the fun. I mean, part of playing the game is the discovery. If you go out and uncover everything, there's no fun in that, at least as far as I'm concerned. So these are my thoughts. This is what I like and dislike about the game. Even my dislikes, it's not really gonna make me go back to World of Warcraft, I have to say. I mean, yes, I wish they would change certain things, but I'm still gonna play the game. It's not gonna be the difference maker. There's way too many pros in this game that if you guys have not had the opportunity to play it, I definitely recommend you guys at least try it out. There's, I think, a trial version for a couple of levels. Definitely jump into that and try it out for yourself. If you guys are MMORPG fans, if you're long-time World of Warcraft fans, this is a game for you. So with that being said, tell me what you guys think. If you agree with me or not. If you don't, that's fine. Tell me your comments and what you guys believe. And I look forward from hearing from you and discussing. So tell me if you guys like this video. If yes, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you so much for watching, guys. Peace.